So, this is a Renolock, playing Kruul in his deck, playing cards that buff demons as well. So you may as well call it a demon lock with Reno. But when your minion survives the brawl, that is pretty astonishing. Bloody hellfire indeed. So he plays Reno, he heals up. But when you can put a mine in his deck that's going to deal 10 damage, there's really no coming back for him. He only plays Gul'dan. His deck does not play N'Zoth. So at this point, the majority of his threats were pretty much dealt with. And now I could just take my time and win the game.
I'm almost out of
Oh,
cards.
there's the mine. 10 damage to the face.
Out of cards.
But then, he would do something quite surprising.
You face Jaraxxus, Eleanor Lord of the Burning Legion.
You face Jaraxxus! This is the first time in, what, 2 years maybe? That I've seen someone play Jaraxxus in their deck? On the ladder? So, a lot of respect to this guy. A lot of respect indeed. Jaraxxus, I mean, look at the value on that card. He's got this 3 attack weapon with 8 charge. He can summon Infernals for 2 cost. I mean, 2 cost 6/6s without the overload effect. That's better than a 4 mana 7/7 in even Shaman. But unfortunately for him, it's too late. Because just look at our hand. Look at all the value that exists in our hand. We have removal. We even have Pyros in our hand. Not quite sure how that happened, but we have Pyros in our hand. But yeah, this is just game over. But a really interesting game. Highly unexpected seeing Jaraxxus. And there we go. That's rank 3. Okay, so what deck am I playing today? I'm playing Nicholena's Odd Warrior. Now, I saw Nicholena playing this on stream. She went to Legend with this deck just before the nerfs hit. And I started playing it because I was facing a lot of even Shamans. And this deck really does excel at killing even Shamans. You could do pretty well against Big Priest as well, because you have multiple ways to deal with their big threats. Now, you've got Reckless Flurry, 2 copies, Brawl, 2 copies, 2 copies of Shield Slam, and yes, 2 copies of Big Game Hunter. A really, really good way of dealing with 4 mana 7/7s. They play a 4 mana 7/7 on turn 4, you play BGH on turn 5. And that alone can just start a game-winning effect for you, because the following turn they're probably overloaded, there isn't so much that they can do, and you start to take back control of the board. So this deck is relatively strong in that it can, it can deal with aggro decks because you've got multiple tools to deal with aggro. You can deal with slower control decks by just tanking up forever and slowly dealing with their threats. Where you struggle, though, is against combo decks. So C'thun Mage, for example, is a problem because you do struggle to put out pressure early. This deck is a slow deck initially, and you take your time to keep control of the board, but if they have a combo of spells that can kill you, then really there's nothing much you can do. But apart from that, this deck generally is strong across the board. So we're going to have a look at a few games of this deck in action on the Wild Mode ladder, both before the nerfs and after the nerfs. So, against a Shaman here. Now, I faced this guy 3 times. 3 times. The first time he was playing a normal even Shaman. The second time he played an elemental even Shaman. The third time he's playing a C'thun Shaman. It's just really insane and bizarre, but all credit to him. So, 10 mana. Does he feel like dropping C'thun here? Yes, he does. 1919 C'thun. But that C'thun has barely put a dent in my armour. And we have the perfect solution. We have Big Game Hunter.
Unity, precision.
Unity, precision and perfection. I love Ziliax in this deck. Ziliax has now become one of my favourite cards. Thanks to Trips, actually, who was playing Ziliax in Odd Rogue. And that gave me a new appreciation for Ziliax. So, he's fatiguing. His C'thun is dead. And I'm putting that Kola Oracle back to hand because I can just win through fatigue.
A symphony of talent.
Of course, Doomcaller gives him one last attempt with C'thun. But I'm not going to give him that opportunity. Not that we can't deal with it, but we may as well end the game now. So, if we look at how much fatigue damage he's taking here, double Oracle should just be enough to seal the deal. Well, he's drawn his C'thun at least.
Look at me. You're good.
And there we go. But much respect to this guy for bringing C'thun Shaman onto the wild ladder at ranks 3 and 4. Okay. Let's look at another game here against a Shaman again. I've been facing a lot of Shamans and a lot of Big Priests with this deck. And Reckless Flurry is a pretty decent pickup.
None will survive.
We have turned our curse into our strength.
Deathlord is a very interesting card in this deck. It can help against aggro, but against even Shamans, against Big Priests, it can just bring out a big threat that you can't deal with on the following turn. So if you're playing Deathlord, I think you need to have something in hand that can deal with whatever comes out. Do I value shield slamming a totem golem? I think I do. I think I do. I mean, it has 4 health, right? It's still a good value shield slam. Obviously, you'd perhaps prefer to save your shield slams for 4 mana 7/7s or Sea Giants. But we have a Reckless Flurry that hopefully can deal with a big, wide board that he plays. Now, this is my first go, really. These games that you're seeing in this video, this is my first go at playing Odd Warrior. Prior to this, I never really felt the need to try it out. So if there are any misplays, please excuse them. So even Shaman doing even Shaman things, think from below. Now there's a card that really would have benefited from being nerfed, but for some reason Blizzard still feels that card is okay or balanced. It's not. It is ridiculously overpowered. So we could clear the board with Reckless Flurry, but I don't see the need to do that just yet. We're just gonna hold our ground here. We're gonna wait. Those AoEs, those board clears, they have to be used sparingly and carefully. So 4 mana 7/7 on the board. Again, we could use our Reckless Flurry here, but I don't know if there is a need just yet. I'm going to hold off. Abomination seems decent here, just because it does 2 damage AoE, and C'thun has Divine Shield. I like that. Before I use that Reckless Flurry, I'd really like him to commit a little bit more to the board. Oh, there's a Shield Slam. That's pretty good. So no need to commit that Reckless Flurry. We can just Shield Slam that 7/7 away. And Ravaging Ghoul deals with 2 minions. Feels pretty good. Almost a clear board. So resource management is absolutely the key here with this deck. The games do last a very long time, so you have to have a bit of patience.
Get in there and fight, maggot!
And on that note, would I recommend that you ladder with this deck to try and get Legend? I think only if you've got the time to do so. If you're after quick games, then you probably want to play Kingsbane Rogue or Odd Rogue. Even after the nerfs, Odd Rogue is still pretty good. Even Shaman after the nerfs is still pretty good.
Elements I like. Totems I love.
Oh, that's pretty interesting. There's a 7/5 on the board. Again, don't want to use my Reckless Flurry. Reckless Flurry that's sitting in my hand is really my only board clear that I have available to me at this point. So we're going to be very careful about how and when we use it. Eventually we'll get to a point where he's just simply top decking cards, and at that point we can start to press a bit of pressure. There's a second Flurry. So now I'm thinking that there's the potential to get value from these Death Runes. He'll kill both of them, and 2 big minions will pop out onto the board from his deck, and then we play Reckless Flurry and just have a massive board clear. That's a pretty big threat. That's good. And that's a massive, massive threat. We need to kill that. Can't let that live on the board. So we have a choice between Brawl and Reckless Flurry. I like Reckless Flurry here because we're not losing too much armor by playing it. Only 6 armor that's being lost. And now we're good to go again with another Reckless Flurry if he wants to fill the board again. Ooh, that's pretty big. So I think it's time to draw. We give him cards too, but that's not too bad. We've drawn both of our brawls here. And whilst we could have armoured up and flurried, I don't see the need to do so. And Burrowing Mine. This is the second game where we've put a mine in someone's deck.
Just a sip.
Feels pretty good. Okay, he plays the Mojo Master, resets the mana. Of course, it makes sense because he can play cheap things from below. Will he trade? This is the question. Does he fear that 6-5? No, he doesn't. And this is absolutely fine because we can brawl here. Reckless Flurry doesn't do enough. We flurry for 4, which means that we're not going to kill everything. So brawl seems like the sensible option here. Do we get lucky? Ah, yes we do. I've been having a lot of decent luck with brawls recently. I'm not sure why.
Well played. Astonishing.
Golems are a girl's best.
Oh, okay, there's Aya. So, we have the Super Collider in our hand. And I think that has to be the play here. It means that we take down 2 minions. Okay, a 4-4 gets summoned onto the board, but that's not the worst thing in the world. So, 1 brawl, 1 flurry left to deal with his threats. Let's see if we can get something good. Sunwalker is a pretty decent pickup. I like the Divine Shield on it. Playing something like a Sunwalker can also bait out a Devolve, for instance. So maybe that's something that we'll try and test for next turn. Oh, and there's the mine. This is very much reminiscent of that earlier game. Let's see if he can make one last push here before he dies. Four mana, 7/7. Not gonna be enough here. We use the second Reckless Flurry. That's a board clear. And we're just chilling here. We're just chilling. Killing time. You find yourself doing that a lot with this deck. Chilling and killing time. Waiting. Reacting to what your opponent does. Wow, this dude plays Hex. Interesting. Maybe he cut Flame Tongue Totems in favour of Hexes.
Magic neutralized.
3/8 seems pretty reasonable here. This will test for Devolve, potentially. And if he devolves that, we're still going to get a relatively substantial minion in play. Yeah, there it is. Oh, we get a 6/7. That's actually even better. And it's a Boulder Fist Ogre. That's brilliant. Remembering the good times in 2014 playing Boulder Fist Ogres in Hearthstone. Those were good times. So, now, really, we have the board. We have all the pressure. There's nothing he can do. And when you're facing a lot of even Shamans, double Big Game Hunter is, you know, such a good such a good inclusion in the deck. A lot of decks only run one copy of BGH, but I can see the value in two.
Light the fuses!
That's reasonable, I guess. Again, we're just killing time. I have double bash in hand, so once he starts fatiguing enough, I can simply bash his face for 6. I have a weapon attack for 7.
Elements I like. Totems I love.
Okay, he's essentially killed himself for me by making that weapon attack. So we don't even need the fatigue effect now to kill him. Double bash simply is enough. And this is such a cool way to win the game. Exhaust all their threats. Take them to fatigue. And just win. Okay, let's look at one more game.
Let the games begin.
And we're going up against a mage. Now, what kind of a mage is this? I've seen a resurgence of Reno Mage on the ladder recently, after the nerfs. Part of me is hoping that it's some kind of a secrets mage, because I've seen a couple of those as well. And I've kept the Shield Slam, just because if it is like a secrets aggro mage, that Shield Slam becomes very handy at dealing with cards like Flamewaker and sort of other threats that they play, like the 5/5 that they can play after the secrets.
I'll show them.
Coin Scientist. That could suggest a Freeze Mage or an Exodia Mage of some kind. In which case we probably lose the game if we can't pressure him. However, a Deathlord can disrupt their combo if they play Antonidas or a Sorcerer's Apprentice in the deck. Bringing that out with a Deathlord can be a big deal. Especially if you can deal with it on the following turn. So, I think my best option here is to pressure him. Ooh, Potion of Polymorph. So, that's why I played my full 3. Just to get a bit of pressure on the board. Okay, you see a Fireball and a Lotheb. Okay, and you're thinking it's a Secrets Mage / Aggro Mage. And that's actually pretty decent because we can armor up out of range. We also have the Ooze ready for Alaneth if he plays it.
Have many secrets.
It's very likely that one of those spells is counterspell. That's always the way. So happy to throw away one bash, sacrificing it to the counterspell. The key thing is we're keeping the board clear and we're keeping our health total up. Well, there's Dr. Boom. And the question is turn 7, do we play him? I don't think we do. I think we still value the notion of tanking up here.
Who knows what secrets will uncover?
Interesting, okay. So it's not a second Potion of Polymorph or an Explosive Runes, which is what I was expecting. Interestingly, if we do play Dr. Boom, we can get 14 armor with Bran. That could be pretty cool.
of creation.
Yeah, fair enough. I guess he decided that breaking through all that armour just was never going to happen. So, Nicolena's Odd Warrior, what do I think of the deck? It's a strong deck. It can certainly take you to Legend if you have a lot of time to invest. 20-minute games are the norm. You are favoured, I think, against most aggro decks because you can smash Dude Paladin, you can beat Odd Rogue. I think you're favoured against even Shaman. I've certainly had good experiences against those decks and won the majority of the games that I've played against them. I think you've got a good matchup against Big Priest because you space out your removals, make sure that you deal with their Spellstone summons, and then they've got nothing left to play, and then you just win from there. Obviously, if they get Barnes into Yasharaj and then resurrect Yasharaj and do stupid things between turns 4 and 6, well, maybe there's nothing you can do because they just overwhelm you. But generally speaking, if you space out your AoEs and your removals, you can deal quite handily with Big Priest. Combo decks or OTK decks are an issue, so Exodia Mage that just stalls, keeps stalling, and then destroys you with Antonidas, Apprentices, and Fireballs, that's a problem. But you don't see too many of those decks around at the moment, so I think overall, in the current meta, providing you're not facing too many Kingsbane rogues, I think Odd Warrior is decent. Certainly, I've been facing mostly even Shamans, and that is pre-nerf and post-nerf as well, which is quite interesting. So, thank you very much for joining me, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This was my first go at Odd Warrior. Please excuse any misplays that you saw. If you enjoyed the content, please give the video a like and drop me a subscribe. I would be incredibly grateful. And I'll see you all again very soon for more Wild Mode fun. My next video will feature a Kingsbane rogue deck recommended to me by a good friend of mine, Magma. He's a friend in game and a friend on Twitter, very, very supportive of my channel. So I'll be featuring his Kingsbane rogue, and we'll have a little bit of fun with Jeeves and Coal Light Oracle.